Hello everyone and welcome to this XPath series for the testers. In this particular tutorial, we will learn about the XPath Axis. So let's begin. So what are XPath Axes? So basically XPath Axes define the direction in which we navigate through the DOM relative to the current node. Okay, so they will help you to move up, down and sideways in the elements hierarchy. So if I go to the browser over here and you see that this is our DOM. So basically, the axes are helpful in navigating through the DOM. This is the DOM and related to the current node. For example, this is the current node. Now you can go up, down, sideways, right? So now the question is that why we need to navigate through the DOM in upward or downward, right? So basically, some elements don't have the unique attributes. Like you don't have the ID or name, then how you will locate that element? Similarly, accesses allows you to locate such elements based on their relationship with the other elements. Okay, just like parent, siblings, right, child. Okay, so they make your XPath expression dynamic and flexible. So let's go to the notepad over here. Write the definition for this one. So basically, they are XPath accesses define the direction in which we navigate through DOM relative to relative to the current node. Now, why they are important? Maybe in some cases, some elements don't have unique attributes like ID or name. Okay, so in this case, you need to develop a relationship, right? So let me create the spelling over here, don't and unique. Now, so they basically allow you to locate such elements where you don't have the unique ID or name. Okay, so they help to locate such elements based on their relationship with other elements. Okay, so there are multiple accesses. For example, just like in our real life, we have relationship like we have siblings, we have parents, we have child. So in similar way, the elements in the DOM has some parent element, some sibling element, some child element. So based on the relationship, we will try to locate those elements. Okay, and the first is basically the parent axis. Now what this X is basically, so how you can use this one? So basically you need to write parent double colon. Now this axis is used to move upwards. Remember that it is used to move upwards in the DOM tree from the current node. Okay, so is used to move upwards. Okay, in the DOM tree from the current node and selects its immediate parent element. So you have a node, from that you need to go upward, okay, and from that node you need to identify the parent element. Got it? Let me go to the browser over here. So this is the child diffs for this particular div. Now this div is a parent for these two ones. Now using this one, we can go upward and locate this parent div. So that's why it is known as a parent axis. Now the question here is that when to use this parent axis. So when you know a child element, for example, you know about this child element, but you want to locate its container or the parent one, and unfortunately assume that the parent doesn't have a unique attribute. So you can, based on the relationship, you can locate the parent element, right? So this is the purpose of the parent axis. Okay, and then we have a child axis. child access, and child access you need to use in this way, child double colon, and this access selects all the different child elements of a given parent. For example, there's a parent, okay, and it selects all the direct child of that element. So basically, this access selects all direct child elements of the given parent node. Now again, the question here is that when to use the child access. So basically, when you want to locate a direct children of a parent node, again, the point here is that you are unable to identify the child one based on the attributes. Either the attributes are not available or dynamic in nature or due to any reason. Then, in that case, you want to use that child access. So basically, useful in a structured layouts where multiple levels of elements exist. Okay. Then we have like following sibling axis. Following sibling axis. Now, what this axis is all about? Now, this following sibling, in order to use this one, you will be using following dash sibling and again double colon. Now, this axis selects the elements that are at the same level in the DOM and come after the current node. So basically, if I go to the browser over here, okay, now these two are basically siblings to each other because they are on the same level in the DOM. Okay, so you can refer to a sibling, and from sibling you can identify the element. Okay, so if I go here, so basically select elements that are at the same level in the DOM and come after the current node. Okay, so this is the purpose of using the following sibling axis. Okay, then because we are talking about the relationships, that we are identifying the elements based on their relationship, right? So we have a preceding sibling as well. Now we talked about following sibling, then we have preceding sibling. Okay, and how to use this, you need to use double colon again, and this axis basically selects elements that are at the same level in the DOM and come before the current node. Okay, so following means after that node, preceding means come before that node. Okay, again, these can be used when you are unable to identify the main element. So these concepts will help you to locate the element uniquely. That's why we are learning these concepts over here, right? So now let's go here and see this practically. And using the parent axis, what we'll do is that let's learn to use the parent axis. Okay, so Control F double forward slash, for example, if I'll explain you this one. So input now at the rate of then ID. So I'll say, for example, ID is equals to, let's go with this one. Okay, so I'll say ID is first name. So let's copy this one from here. Okay, and close this bracket. Now we have successfully identified this first name input field. But what if you want to identify the diff? Okay, the parent diff for this one, right? So basically, you will be using slash parent double colon and diff. So for this input, the parent diff is this one. So in your case, if you want to locate this diff and this diff doesn't contain unique attributes like name, ID, class or something, then using this. So you see that from here we go top. From here we go to the top using this parent axis, right? So parent diff of the first name we identified using this particular int field. Okay. Now let's see the example of the child axis. Okay. In the same way, what we'll do is that we'll go with, let's suppose we'll go with div, then say at the rate id equals to, then we have, let's see which element we can identify here. Okay, so personal information. Okay, so personal info. So if you go here and look at this one, so this is the div with the id, this one. So let's copy this one. Okay, and now I need a child. Okay, so but we need to close this one info here. Okay, so you see that the whole div is selected. Okay, now this whole div, so using a child I can navigate to the child elements, right? So I'll say child colon, and let's suppose we need to go to this h2. Okay, so simply type here h2. Okay, so we press enter. So here div, and here we have provided the id of this one, and then here we need to provide the forward slash. So you see that we have successfully identified this element with the relationship. Here the relationship is a child relationship. Okay, now let's see the examples for the siblings, like following sibling and preceding siblings. Okay, let's remove this one from here and let's go with, let's say, label, and at the rate, and at the rate for equals to, let's go with the first name and close this one, press enter. You see that nothing happened over here. Okay, then we need to go with the following dash sibling colon input. Okay, so that's how you can actually develop a relationship between the parent and siblings. Okay, here it's unable to identify this one, and let's see why this happened. So basically, when we were writing this one, we have given double quotes over here. It should be a single quote, right? So what we did is that if you go here, so basically this label and this input field both are on the same level. They are sibling. And now here we are talking about the following sibling. So using this label, okay, for this label, this input is a following sibling, right? So using this one, we identified this element. Okay. In the similar way, what we can do is that we can go with the preceding element. For example, using this one, we can identify this label. Okay. So remove this lines of code from here, and let's see input at the rate id is equals to, for example, let's go with the last name. Okay, so the id is basically a last name. Copy this one and paste it over here, and once we have identified the last name, close the bracket. You see that we have successfully identified the last name input field, and using this one, okay, preceding means the one before this one, right? So this one. So now we will say forward slash, okay, and we will say preceding dash sibling colon, and for example we need to look at this label one, okay, so we'll type label. So you see that we have successfully locate this label using a relationship, and this is a preceding, both are on the same level, right? And using this one, this particular label comes before this element, so that's why it's a preceding. So using this one, we identify this one, so this is preceding. And following means that if we need to locate input, but we need to locate the input using this label, so here in that case it would be a following sibling. So in today's tutorial, what we learned about the axis. So axis again is basically used to move upwards in the DOM, upwards and downwards in the DOM to identify the elements. So there are multiple ones, right? So basically you have parent, child, following, sibling, we have preceding sibling. And why we need to use these accesses because some of them don't have the unique attributes like ID or name. So based on their relationship with the other elements, we can locate those elements. Okay, and in the parent is used to move upwards in the DOM. Child selects all the direct child elements of the given parent node. Siblings means which are of the same level in the DOM. But when we talk about the following sibling, so following sibling means that which will come after the current node. Come after the current node. And in preceding, it will basically come before the current node. Okay. So when you want to locate the element which comes before that sibling or before that current node, in that case, you will be using the preceding sibling concept.